Hi guys, this is Carrie, one of the animal keepers here at Curiodyssey. Today for Wild Wednesday, we're going to be taking out some of our reptiles for sunshine. They love it. It's a lot of fun in the sun. They get to explore. Reptiles are cold-blooded, or ectothermic is the word we use for it. So that means the warmer they are, the more active they are. Wintertime, they're a little slower. So when we come out in the spring and summertime and it's lots of sun out here, they usually have a pretty good time and are pretty active. So stick with us, we'll be right back with some reptiles. So first we have out Bogart, our gopher snake. Bogart is about 13 years old and he has lived pretty much his entire life here at Curiodyssey with us. Bogart has an interesting story how he came to live with us. He was actually found at the port of San Francisco in the FedEx building, which you might notice is not a normal habitat for a snake. We can guess that Bogart hitched a ride on a package and somehow ended up at this building where he didn't belong. They did call an animal control area and they were able to pick him up. Since they didn't know where Bogart was from, it was hard to return him back to the wild. These guys are not territorial year-round, but during breeding season, the males can be territorial. And it would be unfortunate to be a young gopher snake and to be dropped off in somebody else's territory. That might accidentally put him in a bad situation. So because of his young age and his unknown history, that is why Bogart ended up here with us at Curiodyssey. So you can see he looks like he is exploring something pretty fun. Fun smell there. So hopefully I'll pop his head back out soon so you can see his little face. Now at 13 years old, this would be getting pretty old in the wild for a gopher snake. These guys live to be about 10 to 15 in the wild. In captivity, where conditions are perfect, they have a safe home, no predators, their food is dropped off for them on a regular basis. They can live quite a bit longer, reaching up to 33 years old is the oldest recorded gopher snake. So 13 is still fairly young. Our gopher snake, Bogart, is visiting our back field. It's a large grassy area we have behind our animal exhibits, and it tends to get a lot of sunshine. So this is a really fun area for our reptiles to get some sun, for us to fly our flighted birds like our raptors to come out, and we'll do some flights out here sometime. And you can see Bogart is kind of checking everything out. I'm sure the sunshine feels nice on his back. And you might notice that he is sticking his tongue out quite a bit. So you might be wondering what that's about, if he's being rude or what his sticking his tongue out is about. But he is actually smelling everything around him. So if you get an up-close look, you can see that he has a forked tongue, which is typical of snakes and lizards. And that actually helps him pick up little air particles, bring it back into his mouth. He's able to stick those particles in his Jacobson's organ, which is at the roof of his mouth, and it lets him know what he is sensing in the environment. So he can tell that he is sniffing some grass, some clovers, other fun outdoor smells. Also, when we offer him food about once a week, he would also know that that's a food item that he is getting. So it kind of helps him sense his environment and what's around him. So speaking of food, these guys are strict carnivores. Out in the wild, you might guess that being a gopher snake, they do enjoy eating gophers, but any small mammal will do. So mice, young rats, gophers, moles, voles, basically anything that you don't want near your house, Bogart and other gopher snakes are happy to take off your hands. So these guys are actually a welcome animal if you find them near your home. Of course, any wild animal you want to just go ahead and leave alone, let them have their space. But odds are if they're around, they are taking care of an important job of rodent control. So it's actually great to have them nearby because they're just making sure that no rodents are getting near your house. Eventually, if there are no rodents around, they will just move on to where there are greener pastures. So they're just around for those food purposes. Now, gopher snakes like Bogart, you can find right here in the Bay Area. This is a local species like most of our animals here at Curiodyssey. Gopher snakes have a pretty wide range. They are found from southern Canada down through western and central United States and all the way into northern parts of Mexico. So that includes the Bay Area as well. So they're definitely one of the most common snakes that people report finding, maybe when they're out on a hike or in their backyard. A gopher snake is a pretty regular one that you might come across. So we're gonna let Bogart enjoy a little more sunshine out here. One more cool fact that I wanted to share with you about gopher snakes is they actually have a really cool defense mechanism well, cool according to me and other zookeepers. You might find it scary. They will impersonate rattlesnakes. So you can imagine most people know rattlesnakes and animals as well. They know to stay away from that one. It is dangerous because they are venomous. So he can actually flatten his head so it looks a little more triangular and rattle his tail. So it sounds like he has a rattle on it, but it's actually just vibrating very quickly. And this can make predators or people think, oh my goodness, that one is dangerous, and leave him alone. So it's a really cool defense mechanism when they're out in the wild, to be able to impersonate such a dangerous animal. But the truth is, unless you are a mouse or a gopher, these guys are not very dangerous at all. All right, so we're gonna let go our gopher snake Bogart explore a little bit longer, and we will be bringing out another animal soon.
Hi everybody, my name is Aubree and I am the wildlife apprentice here at Curiodyssey. That's a position where I'm actually here for just a short time, about a year, where I am learning all about how to be a zookeeper and what it takes to move into this profession. It's a pretty fun job, I highly recommend it. And with me is Wolfgang. Wolfgang is our blue-tongued skink. He's one of our education animals here who is also out here to get some sun today. And what that is doing for him is it's giving him enrichment. So enrichment is something that's really important for all of our different animals here at the zoo. Out in the wild, they would get to have new experiences and explore new territories at any given time that they choose to do. But here at the zoo, they live in set enclosures. So in order to make that more interesting and fun for them every day and keep them mentally active and physically active, we give them different things to explore, different opportunities to enjoy their environments, like today.
All right, so here we have Wolfgang, our blue-tongued skink, enjoying going through this lovely grass here, some clover and dried grass. So Wolfgang here is 15 years old. In the wild, that would make him a pretty old skink. Normally about 10 to 20 years is their lifespan out there. But in captivity, they can live to be over 20 years old. So he's still got some time to hang out with us here and enjoy lovely days like this. He is actually with us because he is a former pet. So Wolfgang originally came to us back in 2008, so about 12 years ago. He's been with us for most of his life because a family was not able to provide the care for him that he really needed in order to survive and thrive. So that's why it's always really important to do your research if you're looking into getting any pet, but especially one like a reptile that may have different temperature and humidity requirements than you might be able to provide in your home without extra equipment. And these guys here are definitely a non-native species. So we just saw Bogart, our gopher snake, which can be found here around the Bay Area, but animals like Wolfgang definitely cannot. Wolfgang and other blue-tongued skinks originally hail from Australia, Tasmania, New Guinea, and the surrounding islands of those areas. So pretty far off from our little Bay Area nook over here. But they're still amazing animals. So he is actually one of our education animals. He does not live on exhibit, partially because he is non-native. And so speaking of their actual places where they live, they are found in a couple different environments. They are found in woodland areas, forests, fields, and even into some semi-desert areas, and actually even someone's backyard. So these guys are actually pretty commonly found in people's backyards in places like Australia, so they're quite well known over there. And one of the reasons why they're quite well known and well respected is that they actually like eating things like snails. Snails are one of these guys' favorite foods. It's a nice tasty snack for them as part of their balanced diet because they are omnivores. And omnivores, unlike the carnivore that we just met, actually eat a little bit of everything. So he enjoys plants and animals and insects. Their diet naturally would be about 60% plant material and then about 40% insects and small animals. Usually because these guys are pretty tiny themselves, they're usually going to be going for pretty small stuff also on the animal side. Baby mice, baby rats, things that live in burrows are going to be ideal for animals such as Wolfgang. For burrows, you might notice that he has some pretty short legs. From a distance, you might actually think he's a snake because of that long body, but he does have those tiny little legs there. And he has those short legs because they're very good at digging underground into those nice burrows where tasty snacks might be found. That is one of the differences from a lizard, like Wolfgang, and a snake. So obviously he does have legs, snakes do not. But one other difference is that lizards and snakes, while they both shed their skin, they actually shed a little bit differently. Snakes will shed all in one big long piece, from head to tail, but lizards like Wolfgang will shed in patches, chunk by chunk, getting rid of that old skin to show off their shiny new scales. And something fun you can do at home if you want to see what those scales feel like, if you actually feel the back of your fingernail, you will be touching something called keratin. Keratin is what makes up things like our skin, our fingernails, and our hair, and also things like reptile scales. So it feels pretty similar. And Wolfgang here at the museum, so he eats about every other day, enjoys a nice little varied diet, some plant life and a little bit of meat in there as well as some insects and the occasional snail. And something that you may notice as he's cruising around here in the grass is he has this wonderful bright blue tongue, and that's where he gets that name, blue-tongued skink. So the blue tongue, one, it does help him in smelling, just like the snake that we saw earlier. But for him, that bright blue color, what that does is that's his defense mechanism. So as you can see, he doesn't look very good at defending himself physically. He doesn't have strong limbs to defend himself, but he does have that bright blue tongue to help scare away predators. Because in nature, bright colors usually mean watch out, I am venomous or I am poisonous. Wolfgang is definitely not either of those things, but he likes to pretend that he is in order to help keep him safe in the wild, because if a big predator were to see that bright blue tongue, they might think that that is something to watch out for and stay away from. All right, Wolfgang is going to enjoy a little bit more sunshine out here, and we will be back in just a moment with our third reptile. All right, so we're back here with Spork. Spork here is our third and final reptile of our sunny adventures today. Spork here is a desert tortoise. We believe he is actually of the Mojave desert tortoise subspecies, which makes him pretty awesome and special. And Spork here, we know that he is at least 16 years old. We don't have his exact age, but we have a good guess because he came to us in 2009. He was actually donated to us from a reptile rescue and tortoise sanctuary that he ended up in 2009. Tortoises, once they're about 5 years old, their shells actually fully harden, and that's how we know that he's an adult. And so we know that he was at least 5 years old when they got him in 2009, and so we did the math and we know that he's at least 16, but he could be even older. Tortoises like this guy are definitely a pretty native species as well. So these tortoises can be found in the Mojave and Sonoran desert areas in the southwestern United States and into Mexico. So you can find them locally, or somewhat locally. And they are considered to be a threatened species, unfortunately. So it's good to make sure that tortoises like this guy are taken care of. And he's a great ambassador for all those threatened tortoises out there. And as you can see, he is munching on some pretty tasty greens right now. He's eating some vetch, one of his favorite snacks. Tortoises are herbivores. So we've already met a carnivore, our gopher snake, an omnivore, Wolfgang, our blue-tongued skink, and now we have our lovely herbivore, a tortoise who eats just plant material, and he is a big fan of vetch and other things like that. He does eat every day here. We give him an assortment of greens, some grocery, but we try to give him a lot of wild greens like he's enjoying now, especially at this time of year when they're very plentiful thanks to our rainy season that we just had. He also is a big fan of strawberries. So out there in the wild, these tortoises would be eating wild greens and also berries and other fruits that grow in their native habitat in those desert areas. So they're attracted to bright colors like those bright red strawberries, and he definitely has a favorite food in those strawberries there. And of course, one of the defining features about tortoises is their shell. So that shell is very important to Spork and his other tortoise cousins. That shell is his home. He carries it with him everywhere, and that is what his defense against predators is. The shell is very, very hard, and what he can do is if a predator comes around and wants to bother him, he can pull his head back into the shell and use his front feet to act as a shield over his head. So you might see that he's got those nice, lovely front part of his foot that has a lot of bumps. Those are very rough bumps, and they help protect his head, which is the most important part of his body, of course. And that shell is actually attached to his body. So you may have seen in a cartoon or something when a tortoise or turtle pops out of its shell and runs off without it. He definitely cannot do that. His spine is actually fused to the inside of that shell, and his shell is actually part of his entire skeleton. The shell can make up to 80% of a tortoise's skeleton, so it's very, very critical that he keeps it nice and healthy. In order to do that, he needs lots of calcium. We as humans, we do things like drink milk to help get calcium to support our healthy bones, but he doesn't drink milk. He gets it from the plants that he eats, and sometimes in the desert, they may even actually chew on bones found out in the wild in order to boost up their calcium levels. He also has very long claws on those front feet. See if we can get a nice good angle on those claws there. These claws right in here on Spork's toes would help him dig out in the desert. So of course in the desert it's very, very hot out there, especially during the summer months. And Spork he is a ectothermic animal, so reptiles, their body temperature is based on the temperature of their environment. So in order to keep himself cool, what he will do is dig a deep burrow and go underground to escape the hot desert sun. They will also go into those burrows during the winter time when it gets cold. Tortoises will actually brumate during the winter months, which is sort of like hibernation. The animals we know, animals like bears, do hibernation. Brumation is very similar. It basically means he's going to go into a torpor state over winter to keep his metabolism low. He's going to spend most of his time snoozing comfortably in his den and may only come out for food once or twice, if at all, until the springtime when it warms up and they can warm themselves up also. Thank you for joining Spork here and other reptiles that we had out today. We had Bogart, our gopher snake, Wolfgang, our blue-tongued skink, and now Spork to round out our lovely repertoire with this wonderful Mojave Desert tortoise. We really appreciate that you have come here to watch this video here with us at Curiodyssey. We do miss our visitors so very much. We are still here 7 days a week taking care of these amazing animals that we really enjoy, and we hope that you enjoy watching them have their snacks also. We hope to see you guys very, very soon as we can reopen. We will welcome you back, and Spork will be really, really happy to meet you all.